So the Python language is used to make different things happen. So a lot of times it is used kind of behind the scenes to make things, or to automate how things put together. A lot of different websites and a lot of different programs that you are familiar with uses Python. For instance, YouTube uses Python as part of its algorithm code. So it's stuff you really can't see, but it's what brings videos out and makes it so people can find new videos. So one of the very first things we need to talk about real quick, though, before we get into coding, is what it looks like. So when it comes to Python coding, there's two parts to it. There's a part on the outside, and there's the part with the parentheses. So on the outside, we call that the function. So that is the part that is actually doing something. So that's telling the code what it should be doing. So you could think about that as kind of being the chore or the job it's supposed to do. So we'll use those quite a bit to go through and kind of start off our code. Then inside the parentheses is something that is called the argument. So the argument is the thing that tells it, okay, well, what should it do about that? So sometimes the argument is going to be left empty. So we've seen that a little bit before with different things, but that's because of the fact that we don't need to define that every single time. However, there are other times that we need to define exactly what that function is supposed to do, and that's where we would put the information into the argument. There are two things before we get into the coding part. The first thing is that whenever you have anything in an argument, it can be presented a couple of different ways. One of them is to produce some sort of text. So, for instance, a string of something or a string of letters. So what we would do is something like, for instance, if we want to have a word appear, we would just have print. So print is the Python function that says that it should have a word appearing. And then inside the parentheses, we would have quotation marks. And then we could say something like hello and quotation marks. Okay. What that does is it means that it's going to show exactly that word. So quotation marks will allow you to do that. Now, we call this syntax whenever we talk about how different languages are set up, and different languages are set up different ways. There's other ways as well to have something appear literally in your text, but as I'm going through these things with you, I'm going to use quotation marks to mean the literal words going on. So if you do not have those quotation marks, you might see an error because the fact it doesn't really know what to do with those.